right, he's promised to come back in the new year for longer. We've only got him for about 10, 15 minutes right now. How amazing. Senator-elect Rand Paul going to the Senate. Senator, I just want to say congratulations to you.
Well, thank you. It's good to be with you again, Alex.
My first question is, they threw everything they could at you, one of the biggest demonization campaigns in modern history. It failed. What does that say about the dinosaur corporate establishment media?
Well, I think it's amazing that, not only did they throw the kitchen sink at us, they made up a few things along the way. But what I would say is that the mainstream media doesn't control the process anymore. I think there are so many other outlets where people are getting their news. Talk radio is a big one. The Internet's another big one. And I think also that the scare tactics of saying, oh, so-and-so is going to take away or cut off your grandmother's Social Security doesn't work anymore, because people realize that if we do nothing, no one will have Social Security, no one will have Medicare, because the politicians have basically spent all the money, and there has to be some reform. Whether you like it or not, there's going to have to be some kind of entitlement reform.
Well, moving quickly through these questions, again, you're gracious to join us. Obviously, I'm sure you know that Cass-Sunstein at the White House, the commissioner of the FCC, said freedom without government control of media was an aberration. They're really moving in right now to try to curtail free speech. What's your concern with that, Senator?
Well, it's funny. I've been concerned about the fairness-doctrine ever since I was a teenager, and I can remember writing to a conservative leader back then, and the conservative leader said, oh, we need a fairness-doctrine because the liberals are controlling all the radio and the television. Now it's funny, it's the opposite. Now that there's more conservative commentators, the liberals want to stifle the conservatives. But I think free speech is free speech, whether it's a liberal commentator or a conservative commentator, and that we shouldn't have the government involved in deciding what we hear on the radio waves, what we read in the newspaper, what is written in books.
Senator, obviously you're watching the lame duck Congress try to legalize illegal aliens with the DREAM Act, trying to further gut society, trying to pass the food safety bill, which was written by Big Agri to shut down local farms and ranches. Boy, I tell you, they are really showing how disconnected they are. Are you going to try to lead in the Senate to make sure that whatever horrible things they do, like Obamacare and other things, are repealed?
Absolutely. And the other thing is you got to wonder why, when we just had such a big historic mandate of an election, that they're trying to ram all these things through in a lame duck. Of course, we know why, but the thing is we shouldn't let them do it. The people have spoken and elected, nearly 100 new people in the House, 13 new people in the Senate, that we need to wait till the electoral process has been allowed to occur and the new people get there. So, yes, anything they try to do in this session, I think we will try to reverse. And I think that you're already hearing people. People are saying that let's wait for the new people. That's what Senator DeMint said today. Let's wait for the new senators.
Absolutely. They've certainly been rebuked in their activities, but they're like a bunch of drunken sailors trying to steal as much as they can. Speaking of your father, headline, Ron Paul, author of In the Fed, to lead panel overseeing central bank. Are you going to join with your father in an attempt to get rid of the private Federal Reserve System that won't tell Congress where the trillions went?
Well, how exciting is it to have the probably historically the number one critic of the Fed being in charge of oversight of the Fed? That's got to excite people throughout the country, and I think a lot of good will come of it. I think the first thing we have to do is try to audit the Fed and have a real, meaningful audit of the Fed. I was amazed at the coalition my dad put together. Over 330 people in the House signed on to it, 30-some-odd people in the Senate. And yet, like so many legislative shenanigans, they stole victory from him, and they gave us a watered-down audit. But even the watered-down audit, we're getting some information about what the Fed bought. But, boy, he could really get through. If he could get through a real audit, I will be supporting and introducing that in the Senate as well. So I think the potential for us shedding some light on what the Fed does is enormous.
A lot of folks obviously want your father to run for president. Are you thinking about, or are you getting questions, Senator-elect, about running for president yourself?
Well, no, but it's very complimentary to get such a question. But, you know, I think I haven't even really been sworn into my first office, so it might be premature for me to be thinking about it.
Well, it was the same thing with George Washington. He went right from general to president. I mean, we need doctors and farmers and people to be senators and presidents. We don't need, the lawyers. I mean, it's so great that you and your father are both doctors. I mean, you're there right now seeing patients today in between this interview. Your victory is our victory, and I just want to commend you.
Well, I appreciate that, and I know you've got a lot of loyal listeners, and we hear from them, and we meet them across the country and all across Kentucky. I end up running into your loyal fans. But the interesting thing is that we're going to do some things that have never been done before, in the sense that as soon as I get there, I'm going to talk about and introduce a bill that will cut a significant amount of spending. We have a bill we're working on that will cut $500 billion worth of spending, and that's where we've got to start. And I think the American people are ready to hear it, because the American people know that we're mortgaging our future to China, that we're printing up the money to pay for these massive debts, and that ultimately, as the day of reckoning comes closer and closer, we are in fear of destroying our country if we don't do something about this. And so I think people are no longer afraid, at least I'm not afraid, to go ahead and introduce significant spending cuts and say, look, if you're serious about this problem, you need to vote for this.
Absolutely.
We'll have a discussion.
Senator, sorry to interrupt you. We've only got about 6 minutes left with you here today, and I've got so many questions. MSNBC was deceitful. They lied about what your real views were. They tried all sorts of dirty tricks. They said, if you don't like Obamacare, you are a racist. We now learn that hundreds of millions of dollars from your father's even partial audit of our tax money went to General Electric and to MSNBC. How creepy is that, to know that a government media source, like the Kremlin or something, went after you?
Well, and the weird thing about it also is that, I tell people that once upon a time our dollar was backed by gold until about 1971, at least partially. From 71 to about the year 2005, our dollar was backed by at least U.S. Treasury bills, debt. Wasn't the best thing in the world, but it was at least it was government debt. From about 2005 on, though, it's backed by, I guess, buying GE, MSNBC, backed by buying used car loans, basically backed by what the government calls toxic assets, things that you and I and no person with a rational investment mind would ever buy. We were forced to buy by the Federal Reserve buying it. But that's essentially what backs the U.S. dollar now. Toxic assets are now what we pyramid the dollar on, and that is worrisome.
Incredible. Dealing with the carbon tax, when you said, I've got a message from the Tea Party to Washington, we're going to stop you from this carbon tax. California went ahead with it. A 20% tax. They're already got over 30% unemployment, 60 Minutes reports. What are you going to do as a senator, sir, to try to aggressively block Obama from implementing his agenda by stealth through the EPA and FDA and other groups?
Yeah, that's one of my biggest fears, and one of the things that through the election I learned more about our government was that I was amazed and appalled to know how much the unelected bureaucrats are doing. And that basically if something fails in the Senate or in the House, they simply do it anyway through these bureaucracies. And so part of the reform agenda that I think the Tea Party stands for, one of the items that I will push for is sunsetting all regulations. Basically, if they pass a regulation, it has to be voted on in Congress by a certain period of time, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, but it cannot just be put on the books by unelected bureaucrats. And really, we're in danger of having the government run by these standing bureaucracies. The Founding Fathers talked about standing armies. Now what we have is a standing bureaucracy that we need to fear, and we really need to have governmental reform, and that's a big thing that I'm going to be pushing as part of what I call the Tea Party platform.
Amazing. Senator,